Welcome to part 2 of 5 ways to overcome energy burnout. So if you haven't listened to part 1, you want to go over to Aligned and Unstoppable with Emily Aarons. Kristin and Emily and I have been talking about what we're seeing trends wise as far as energy burnout and how it shows up for us personally. And now we're going to be talking about things you can actually do to get through it, which I think is so important. And we're going to be sharing different ways that have helped us all. And so with that being said, let's get into it. So we talked about the different phases. I was kind of still am in the goo phase. And we talked about the phases of Kristin and Emily, where Kristin feels like she's just kind of sitting there in the sunlight and she just come out of the place where she was all transformed and she's got her butterfly wings. And Emily, you're like preparing to fly. You're getting into that place. So I think that some of these steps can go with different phases. And some of these steps may just be for every phase. And one of the things that I've done personally in this goo phase, and almost have been forced into, is the cleansing, healing, detoxing, releasing phase. So the releasing phase, I'm a person that doesn't like to be perceived as flighty. And I like to have my notes and I like to plan things. However, I've had to accept imperfection, where when I go into a structured environment, I don't really love too much structure. I've had to say, you know what, I can't show up for this meeting, or you know what, I just can't control it anymore. And so for me in the goo phase, releasing all the expectations, releasing the things that I think I should do with the air quotes, because if we're saying should, we probably shouldn't do it anyway. And cleansing and detoxing. So for me, release too is like behavior patterns, old ways I'm treating my body, old routines that I have. And so for me, I had some health concerns. I came back and I wasn't able to swallow or talk really well. And so I was in this place of cleansing my diet. And I thought I was eating super healthy. I was vegan, gluten-free, soy-free. And it was like, no, this is like a cleanse for you that you need. And detoxing, like the stuff that's not helping me, the people in my life that might be too negative, or that it's not really helping me kind of feel like we're in a great match. There's so many things we can detox in our lives, and it shows up in different ways. So I wanted to ask you both, has this shown up for you, and what's been helpful in these steps? I'll go with you, Emily.
Okay, great. As far as that first step of releasing and cleansing and detoxing, I think that when we're starting to reach that place of burnout, I think we're all like innately going towards doing that. I know when I get to the place, even on a day-to-day basis, or even throughout my cycle, if I'm at that stage where I'm like, sometimes like cleaning and detoxing can actually help me to feel a little bit more in control. But also I'm like, get the stuff out of my space that's not supposed to be here. So whether it's my physical space or in my physical body, my container, I think that's that first stage that like we innately want to do, is like, get it clear. We need a clean slate, wipe the board, get all the muck out of this space. And for me, especially as doing an energy healing as much as I do, that is cleansing and clearing the space. Even as you were talking about that, I was like, I need to light some sage right now. We need to move some of this energy out. It's like a knee-jerk reaction is always that first step of clearing and releasing. Like, I think the best thing that we can do when we get to that point of like burnout and like breakdown is to like just call it like, okay, stop, clear out the stuff as much as we can before we can move on to that like next phase.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, we've had a lot of Virgo influence as well, with Virgo in retrograde, and just, we've had some of these periods of time, not too far off from where we are. And it's like another call for organization, which I think is really important, and healing, which is really important too. So I do want to chat with you, Kristin, but I'm going to ask you a little different question. So one of the things I wanted to say is, when nothing's working, because when we're in burnout, we feel like nothing is really, happening, or it's just not working the way we want it to work. We have to have endurance. So I feel like you know a lot about endurance. I wanted to ask you, what tips do you have for people to help build endurance to keep going?
So I think about like watering a garden and putting my energy, my time, my love, my money, whatever it is that water. And that hose, when you're trying to do too many things and have endurance to do it all, it's almost like there's these holes in the water stream, and it's going everywhere instead of where you want.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what I do to keep my endurance is definitely treat myself well, like you guys have already talked about, like eat well, make sure I'm exercising, meditating, clearing my energetic space, clearing my calendar is another one. Making sure that only the right things that I want to be putting my time and energy to are actually happening. And keeping yourself strong, and it's strong emotionally, strong physically, strong energetically. We just had a new moon, and so I did a full cleanse on myself, really got focused on what I want to accomplish, and made a kind of a action plan for myself. And that helps me with endurance, because it's showing the subconscious, like, this is what we're doing, and we're not putting anything in the way of where we want that water to go. We're not wasting any time on a thing that maybe we're not getting anything back from, or they take too much energy or time or whatever it is.
Oh, I love that. That's so very good. And so release, change, detox, and endurance. And I love how you gave that actionable step of clearing your calendar, and also working with the moon, I think is just so beautiful as well. And it kind of gives you a tangible way of your cycle and what you're going through. So another symptom that we've seen too is when you feel like your back is up against a wall. Like when we feel, I don't have any energy to do anything else. I don't have any energy to actually force a change here. Or when we feel like we're supposed to do something. And so, Emily, I think you brought up get scrappy. Like that was the actionable step. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, definitely. I think we've all been in a place in some shape or form throughout our life where things have gotten really difficult. And sometimes it was when we were younger or throughout our lives as we grow up. And what I mean by get scrappy is, I don't know about you, but when I was at that place, and I've been a healer for most of my life. And when I was really broke and in those broke cycles, I had to figure out ways like, okay, you need to come up with X amount of money today so that you keep your car, or whatever the thing was. Like, it was like immediate, and I needed to do it right then. And so it's like, okay, maybe this is how I would make money before, but I also have these other skill sets, or maybe I can trade time for something, or maybe I can get rid of my clothes, or donation, or consign, or that thing that I've been having in my closet that's actually really valuable. Maybe I could sell it because I've been needing to do that. So like when your back's up against the wall, and it's forcing you. And I know I did an episode a while ago on my podcast around, finding, like, you have to take responsibility to make money. And it was funny, like, my guides showed me a Play-Doh Fun Factory when I was coaching somebody one day. And basically they're like, you take the Play-Doh, you mush it up, and you put it in the machine, and then you squish down, and then the noodles come out. And it was like, no, you make the money. Like, you do it. You have to make the money. So I took that analogy as like, oh, like a lot of spiritual folks are like, I'm just manifesting it. And oh my God, how many times have I offered programs and people are like, I really want to join your program, so I'm going to work on just manifesting it. I'm like, what does that actually mean? Like, no, you have to actually you have to go to the Play-Doh Fun Factory and you make it. So like, what are you going to do? And I think a lot of people get offended by that. Maybe that could be a little triggering for some folks hearing me say like, no, it's your responsibility to make the money, Play-Doh. But that's part of it, is like, I think that is a gift in some ways when our back's up against the wall, to realize that things that we've been doing aren't working anymore. Using our intuition, using our spirit team, finding that way to innovate, because what we've been doing is getting us into this predicament. So obviously that's not working. We have to do something different. And being scrappy is, I think, another term for innovation. And I think that is what has always led me to innovate, is my intuition. It's like, oh, what about this other thing? Okay, I hate doing this and I hate how this launch made me feel. How can I not feel that way? How does it get better than this? So creating innovation when what you've been doing is not working is really, like, that's big for me, whenever, no matter what phase it is, because even if it is resting or even if it is growth, like, how can we do it in a better way that makes us feel our better?
This is so good. I love that you replaced that with innovation. I feel like that gives a different perspective. And I do think that that's so triggering for people, or can be, but it's something we need to talk about, because I have definitely had the same experience where people saying, I'll just manifest, or they'll say, well, I'm just going to wait for a sign. And really, it gives all the power away. Like, you need to bring it in as a responsibility for yourself, and you're choosing something. So for me, for an example, it's like, how do I get in the goo? I can just sit there and be really grumpy and resentful, or I could eat healthier. And that's something I'm doing for myself. I'm choosing to have 64 ounces of green smoothie a day or drinking this huge gallon of water. So it's more about, like, are we being responsible? Are we actually going to say, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to make something happen. I'm going to make a new step in a different direction and realize that what I've been doing in the past isn't working for me anymore. So I'm going to figure it out. And I know that Spirit's got my back with that too. This episode is sponsored by my free Spirit Guide Masterclass. Inside, you'll learn the 5 C's of Spirit Guide communication, your role with your Spirit Guides, 2 proven effective strategies to stop second guessing yourself and your intuition, and the single most important step to understand your intuitive guidance, along with 4 ways to perceive your spiritual intuitive messages. You'll also be getting a workbook to go through this class as well. You can join at messengerofspirit.com/free class. So another thing that we talked about too, and I'd love for you to comment on this, Kristin, because you had this wonderful phrase that I love, but it was about the butterfly and be the goo. So can you elaborate on be the goo? That's actually a step that we need to take.
Yeah. Instead of fighting against the goo, like, I must perform, I must do the thing, I must, do. It's like, just be that goo, feel the emotions of it, feel the loss of what you thought was going to happen, or who you thought you were going to be, or who you thought somebody else was going to be, and allow those emotions to flow through you. And then, the goo is actually a very powerful place, because it's kind of the subconscious, it's the shadow. It's what we don't really show to the world, because we need to be strong and independent women and business owners and blah, blah, blah. We all have goo. And if we're not allowing that goo to happen, we're really not growing. There's no butterfly without the goo. You just stay this little caterpillar who doesn't know the beauty of flight, right? So how do I be the goo? I clear my calendar. I cry. I ask for help. I have this beautiful, circle of healers that I go to when I need help. Yes, I've been a healer for 35 years, and I still go and get sessions done, because we can't do it all ourselves, especially when we're the goo. When we're the goo, we have to receive. We have to, allow that in.
I think that's so important, that we forget that we don't have to do everything by ourselves. And even though you can give yourself Reiki, it's nice to go get a session from somebody. Like, you don't have to do all the things, always, right? Like, you don't have to be the healer and receive. You can actually just receive. Like, that's the thing. But just receive.
Yeah, but also, like, think about if you're going to a healer who's not getting healing.
Right. Right. That's true. 100%.
Bro, work on your stuff, man. Like, You got to.
Yeah, because then
Yeah.
you're just going to be all nasty and give dirty bathwater people. That's what I say. Like you got to clear your energy. That's 100%. So be the goo and, knowing that you don't have to know all the answers, like know that you don't have to know, which I think is really important. And then time off. And this is another huge one. And, I feel like alone time is important. That can be part of your time off. Sometimes I get cards from my spirit guides that say, go outside, stop thinking so much, remember to play. And so my time off can be, I'm going to go over to so-and-so in the moment, inspired. Or maybe it's a planned time off, like you had mentioned, Kristin, where you're clearing your calendar and it's like nothing is there and I'm not going to do anything. Or I'm going to do what I feel inspired to do. And that time, but it's not going to be work, or, it's not going to be just energy draining, whatever that is. Maybe it's time for a massage. It's just really allowing yourself to have time off. And one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs think is, but if I take time off, I'm not making money, or I'm taking time off, the business won't run. And honestly, when you take time off, you are recharging your energy so that you can, one, get your energy in a place where you're excited about your business again. And two, I've had so many times when I'm walking or I'm, enjoying something playful and not even thinking about work, that's when all the sales come in. And another thing too is when you take time off, you generally get more intuitive messages about creativity and inspired things that you do want to run in your business and that you do really feel excited about, which is so important. So I'm going to recap and then I'm going to ask you all one question before we end. So one step you can take to get through it, it's kind of 3-in-1. It's release, cleanse, and detox. Let stuff go that's not working for you anymore in all different areas of your life, and be good to your body and healthy for your body and mind and spiritual and energy maintenance. 2, build your endurance. So Kristin talked about a great way to build a schedule that can work for you, but keep going. Find that light. Do that one thing. Double down on your meditation, whatever it is. Know that you don't have to do it all, but at least do one thing to help you keep going. And get scrappy, which Emily turned into innovation. Get innovative with things, things that can change. You're not going to be able to do the same thing that you did before and expect it to keep working. If you're a different person and your energy is in a different alignment, then you have to do something different. And be the goo. Allow yourself not to have all the answers. And it's okay if you don't know all the answers from your spirit guides in the moment. I know that my listeners are going to be, but I'm trying to get the intuitive message. Sometimes your spirit guides are not privy to know, and you are not ready to know either. And then finally, take some time off. So really quickly before we end, Emily, what is the one thing that's really helped you get through burnout?
The one word is play.
Play, yes.
Play. When I can focus on play, I nurture my inner child. I go swing, I rollerblade, I treat myself to a fun day. I do something that makes me laugh. I dance, I sing, play. Yeah.
Love it. Kristin, how about you?
For me, it's nature. I have built into my schedule every day going for walks outside my house, which there's trees and mountains everywhere. One day a week, I take a hike and immerse myself or go swimming in the ocean or whatever it is. And then once a month, I do a whole weekend. So I've always got it built in. So I have nature around me all the time.
I love it. For me, it's hard to break down into one, but I think the biggest one I've needed to do is rest. And I'm not necessarily just talking about bodily rest. I'm talking about mental rest, where I'm just letting myself not think about things and to truly just let go. And I think that's been so helpful because our body can sit there, but our mind just goes so many thoughts are coming in. So allowing yourself to rest. And if you can't rest like that, then do something that's enjoyable, that distracts you from thinking about all those things. That can be playing, having fun, traveling, whatever it is. Just allow yourself to be in joy, but also get your mind to rest, which I think is really important. So I'm going to put everyone's links in our show notes so you can find Kristin and you can find Emily. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this. And I know our listeners do, with these words of wisdom that you all have. And I will be back next week with a regular episode. And don't forget to check out our Sunday mini episodes all about the energy for the week. But until then, here's to staying spiritual and ambitious.